What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin. In this video, my objective is to show you guys where I see the cycle going, what I expect over the coming months and potentially over the coming year. I know that there's some people who are wondering if we have more bull cycle to go. Has the bull cycle ended? I want to answer those questions, right? And I do believe that we have more bull cycle to go. And I want to just show you guys what I think that's going to look like using analytical and historical data. Or I guess analytical methods and historical data. I don't know. We're going to go over all that in this video. So if that sounds good to you, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Let's get going. So I've got some lines here, right? Some golden lines. Each of these represent a Bitcoin halving that has occurred in the past, right? We've only had 4 so far. The first one happened in November of 2012, second one July 2016, May 2020, April 2024. Okay. I'm going to get rid of the lines there and just show you guys the chart again. Right, it's very obvious. Actually, I want to bring the lines back. I'm going to delete them. We'll bring them back again after this, but I'm going to show you now. This is a bull cycle. This is a bull cycle. This was the last bull cycle. This is our current bull cycle, right? Okay. Right, you can see them with your naked eyes, right? The areas that I'm talking about right here, right here, right here, right here, right? Bull cycles, okay? Bring back the golden lines. Each of these golden lines has happened right in the middle of basically every bull cycle we've had, right? Except for this one, right? It's debatable whether this happened in the middle, or some people would believe that it happened after the bull cycle ended, right? There are some people out there that do believe that the high is already in, which would then imply that this high would be the first high ever that has existed for Bitcoin's history that happened before the halving. We've never seen that before. In fact, the halving has literally been firmly entrenched in the bull cycle each time so far. It wouldn't make sense for it to top off there, but this is what we have so far, okay? So going off of this, now that we've identified our bull cycles, we identified the halvings, we know what we're looking at here. From a low, from a low here to the high before the halving, that was our move, right? It wasn't a straight line, but just from the low to high, based off of the price, from low to high, I got that, and then based off the time it took, that's the time it took. That's the line, you know, the straightest line that I could draw from that point to that point, right? So there's that. If we go from the low of the halving here, this is your pre-halving pump. You go to your post-halving pump. Your post-halving pump looks something like this, right? Again, it's not the most perfect line. It doesn't detail everything, but it does get the low, it does get the high, and you do get the space in between that marks the time. So there's your line, your post-halving high, your pre-halving, or your post-halving move, your pre-halving move. Here's your post-halving move, here's your pre-halving move, right? Oops. I don't know why that line was there. I guess I have 2 lines there. Noticeably different, right? Very, very significantly large after the halving happened, right? Go on to the next one. Pre-halving pump, we have this. Post-halving pump from low to high. We've got that, essentially, right? I'm not drawing it perfectly, but I'm trying to draw it as well as I can. Post-halving move right here, pre-halving move right here, right? Significantly different. Last cycle, we had our pre-halving move right there, and our post-halving move was this. Okay, that was our post-halving move. Actually, that's not fair, is it? Because this low was the COVID crash, and it came in before the halving. So let's use the low after the halving, okay? Or at the halving itself. We've got our pre-halving pump and our post-halving pump, right? Again, a sizable difference, right? The post-halving pump so far, every single cycle, has been larger than the pre-halving pump. There's no denying that at all, right? The thought that I'd like to carry on, that I'd like to continue with, is just that alone, is that the pre-halving pump will be smaller than the post-halving pump. Now, we don't have the post-halving pump here, so we can't prove that, right? We can't prove that, but what we can do is look prospectively at what this could mean, okay? So from a low to a high, we've got our price range, we've got our time range right there, right? If we were to move this over to our low, right, our post-halving low, to get our post-halving pump, which we haven't experienced yet, we might be right in the middle of it right now, who knows? But that's not the point of this, right? That's for another video. If this was to be our post-halving move, based off of this low here, we would find our high somewhere potentially in October of 2025. Again, I didn't draw that the best. Let me see. Right, we get the low to the high. That was actually a little bit, because I swear it was December, but maybe it's October. Maybe I just had it drawn wrong before. let's see, from that low right there. Yeah, see, it's a little bit further out. I'm going to use this line because that I feel like is drawn better. Right, we've got the actual low here to the actual high right there. Is that not right? Is that, let me move it over one more. Hold on. Just make sure I get it right. Yeah, that looks right. Low here, high here, encompassed well. Put it at that low there. And it would be December. Okay, that's what I thought I was looking at earlier. Okay, I did go over this in my live stream a couple nights ago. For those of you that saw that, this should be familiar, but I'm sure most of you haven't seen this yet, right? Very basic way of analysis, right? We're not even like using numbers. We're not really doing anything too difficult. We're just using our eyes to see that, hey, pre-halving pump was smaller than the post-halving pump, right? Before the halving, small or good, right? After the halving, better. I don't want to demean the pump that happens before the halving, right? That's always fun, but the post-halving is just more fun. All I'm trying to get to, the main piece of this, right here, is that if this was our pre-halving move, based off of this line itself, our post-halving move, we don't have it yet, but what we can at least expect is that it would be bigger than this move here. This would have us ending the cycle in December. How many of you, show of hands, think the bull cycle is going to end in December of next year? I don't. I personally don't think it's going to end in December. I give it that it could. It could end in 2026 even, but that would be the longest bull cycle that's ever existed in Bitcoin's history. I personally don't see it happening. I do think that it'll end in October. But maybe you don't think it'll end in October. Maybe you think it'll end in April. I don't know. When do you think it's going to be? Right? All I know is that regardless of when any of us think it's going to be, relative to this line, it seems as though we would be destined to have a smaller post-halving rush, post-halving bull run than we did a pre-halving bull run. This would be the first time we'd ever had that in Bitcoin's history. Does that make sense? Not really. It doesn't make so much sense, but first times do happen, right? But let's run with this idea that the post-halving move will be larger than the pre-halving move. And let's run with the idea that the bull market ends as early as April of 2025. Or for some people that might be late, maybe as late as April. I think it's going to be October, but let's say as early as April. This line comes in. I'm making the point, I promise. I'm taking a while to get there, but I'm getting to it. This line comes in right here at about $97,000. So in April, if we were following this same path, we'd be at $97,000. We'd have a move that is essentially half as large as our pre-halving move. That doesn't make sense there, right? We're trying to go off of something that is bigger than our pre-halving move. So if we were to end in April from the pump here, the only way that it would be bigger, in my opinion, right? That seems bigger, right? This line here, it seems not even that much bigger. Yes, it rises faster, but overall, it probably doesn't take up too many more pixels than this line does, right? It's not noticeably bigger like this one is here, right? Like that's noticeably, that's different than this. This is too damn close together. All I'm trying to get at is if we moved like this until April and we saw a move, this would still be, this is, I think, technically, that move is technically bigger than this move, but not by much. They're almost similar, these lines here, right? This one is higher, right? But this one is longer. It reaches out more, right? But I think overall, I think this line is longer. If not, they're very close together. All I'm trying to say is that would take us up to about $300,000. Again, this would be a move that happens to top off in April of 2025. Is it making sense? 2025, and this move would basically be comparable to the move that we saw that led us into the halving. So that in itself, just based off of what we've seen historically speaking, wouldn't make sense. It would make sense that it would actually be bigger. If you're expecting the market to end in April, I'm proposing this. We are going to have a very intense rally going into April. And there's a lot of things that make sense to end in April. But I think it's going to be October. I still think it's going to be intense, right? We take this same line here, we put it at the low, that low that we've been working with right there, right? It goes into December, whatever. We're probably not going to go into December. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But that puts the line right there at about 186,000. Well, we know it's going to be bigger than that, right? So let's say we were to grow at some kind of trajectory like this until October, something like that. Could we be at 460,000? Could we be up at that level? I don't know. I mean, this line here is notably bigger than that line, and we've always seen a post-halving cycle be larger. I'm just spitballing ideas here, right? There's nothing concrete on these levels, but let's make it concrete. Let's take the prior cycle high to the cycle low, the bear cycle low that we have, and then look at this line that I drew right here, actually, this most recent line, the one that I was saying is bigger, right? This is a little bit different than those lines that are comparable. I'm going to delete this here. This is the just estimated path from our low to this high by October of 2025. That happens to be right at our 2272 area right there. Coincidentally, I didn't mean to draw it there. It just happened to be there, but I'm glad that it did, because this is actually where I do believe that the cycle is going to go to. So this line itself could actually be very well respected. Again, not respected entirely. When I draw these lines, I'm just drawing from low to high, and the time frame, it's not covering the price. It's not mimicking it exactly. But the 2272 I like for a bunch of reasons. So we're going to delete everything now, right? We're going to look at this, and anybody that's been following the channel for a while, you guys know where I'm going with this. But from a high, that's not the high. From a cycle high to a cycle low, the next cycle high was at the 2272 right there, just above it, just above the 2272 right there. The next cycle high to the cycle low that we had, the next all-time high was at the 2272, or just above it, right? Again, just above it, but right in that local area, 2272 both times. And I do want to take a moment to mention, you did find significance on the 1618 here. You also found significance, I think you found support here on this one's 1618 as well, but you show significance on that 1618. Normally in the bear cycles, not in the bull cycles. Okay, but you do show significance on it. The 2272 is where you topped off both times, right? Both times before, just above it. High to low, cycle high to cycle low. This time you didn't top off at the 2272, you stopped at the 1618, okay? The 1618. It's the first time you've ever done that. You found a double top there, but it is an area that you found significance on before, okay? Something to note. The minimum expected price, based off of what we've seen historically, based off of this method alone, would be $173,000, okay? Here's our pre-halving move. If we had a post-halving move up to there, right, the only way that this line, the only way that this post-halving move would be longer than our pre-halving move, and we stopped at 173K, 174K, is if our post-halving move looked like this. Like if it took forever, right? Then, and even then, even if it took until like February of 2026, it's still not bigger than our pre-halving move. So you know, if we stop there, we're getting a sizably smaller post-halving move. It's not kind of smaller. It's completely opposite of what we've seen so far, which is significantly noticeably larger post-halving move and a noticeably smaller pre-halving move. This would go completely against the book, but it would stop at the 1618, where we had a double top last cycle during a very weak cycle. I would put in mind right there, right? But 173K, that's our minimum based off of fibs, our minimum expected target. Based off of our whole post-halving, pre-halving theory, it doesn't really make sense, but it is what it is. The 2272, all the way up here at 462K, we top off in October. I don't know about you guys, but that line there doth look a bit bigger than that line there, noticeably so. Yes, verily, yea, right? And each time that we've gone to the 2272, we've actually gone a little bit above it. What's just above $462,000, $500,000, that right round psychological level of $500,000 right there, right? I'm just saying, I know it sounds crazy, right? We're at $64,000 right now. Bitcoin going to $500,000 in the next year. It sounds crazy. I get it. But when you look at the data, it kind of makes sense that it would happen. It actually kind of makes sense that it would happen. And if you think that the cycle is going to end in April, there's a lot of things that add up to it ending in April. And if it does end in April, I doubt that we would see a price get this high. But, you know, if we ended in April, that'd be like here. I also doubt that we'd end at 173,000. We'd probably pump somewhere between like 200 and 300,000 really fast, right? We might have a slightly smaller post-halving pump than a larger post-halving pump, but I wouldn't think that we would flip the script completely, right? I think that if we were to change the trend of post-halving pumps being larger than the pre-halving pumps, if we were to change that trend, I don't think it would be a dramatic shift immediately. I don't think we'd go from a very large pre-halving pump to a very small post-halving pump. I think they'd be close together. You'd see that shift gradual, but that's just my opinion. That's not really backed to anything concrete. That's just what to me would make the most sense. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. I can go over a bunch of different stuff that I've gone over the years as far as when I think the cycle is going to end and validating that, measuring from high to high or cycle end to cycle end. That was 40 months there, right? You've got your cycle's end to cycle end there. That took 49 months. Here, this was the end of your very first cycle, end of your second cycle, 29 months, right? 29, 49, 40. If this is the end of the cycle here, but we're going from cycle high to the end of the cycle. So from this cycle high to the end of the cycle, 29 months at a minimum. Well, we've already passed that. 40 months at the next minimum. That would put us in March, maybe. 49 months, though, that puts us right in December. So, I mean, it is possible that it could go past October, but just like that metric alone shows that, I think. You can measure how long, how far away was the all-time high from each cycle low, right? From this low here, the all-time high happened 24 months later. From this cycle low here, or I should say the beginning of the bull cycle, technically, right? 28 months later. From this low here, our cycle ended here 28 months later as well. And then from our low here, 28 months would put us right in March. Could be March. It's possible from the cycle low there, based off of that metric alone. But again, if we were to end in March, that would just be, unless we saw some kind of massive rally going into March, I just wouldn't see us. It wouldn't make too much sense to see something that is so low. I don't know. It just wouldn't make sense to me. So that's all I got, I guess. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.